Want to speak real Hebrew from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at HebrewPod101.com.
Hi everybody, Deet here and welcome to Hebrew Top Words. And this week we're going to talk about 10 ways to save the planet in Hebrew. Let's begin. למחזר, to recycle. למחזר, to recycle. למחזר זה חסכוני. It is economical to recycle. It's true, I think like recycling saves energy and reduces our carbon footprint, and it's really, really important. Even if sometimes it's a bit of a hustle for you, I don't know, to separate the plastics and the metals, you should do it. להתנדב, to volunteer. להתנדב, to volunteer. התחלתי להתנדב באיסוף בקבוקים. I started to volunteer collecting bottles. You can also volunteer in something that's eco-friendly, like collecting bottles or, picking up trash, stuff like that. But generally in Hebrew, when you say to volunteer, it's like in English. You can volunteer at an old people's home or in a hospital or just, anywhere else. Doesn't have to be eco, but anything is good. Volunteering is a good thing. להגן על הים, protect the sea. להגן על הים, protect the sea. להגן על הים זה חשוב. It's important to protect the sea. I don't know how it is in other places, but in Israel, there are sea turtles, and the problem with them is that either sometimes they get beached, or they would swallow, a plastic bag. So what usually people ask from is not to throw their plastic bag in the ocean, and don't ever do that. Don't do that because the sea turtles think that this is like a jellyfish and they eat it and then they choke and they die. So, no good. לשמר את הטבע, preserve nature. לשמר את הטבע, preserve nature. צריך לשמר את הטבע. We should preserve nature. I think it's really important to preserve nature, especially in Israel. There's such a special ecosystem, and it's kind of delicate, but it's also very, very interesting. So, I don't know, just don't litter and take care of it. להשתמש באנרגיה סולרית. Use solar energy. להשתמש באנרגיה סולרית. Use solar energy. כדאי כמה שיותר להשתמש באנרגיה סולרית. It's better to use solar energy as much as possible. Israel is very sunny, and most of the year what people do to heat up water for shower and stuff like that, they have actually a solar boiler. Usually it's on the top of the buildings. So you see, if you look up from Tel Aviv, you'll see all the solar water boilers on the top of the buildings. I wouldn't say it's necessarily very attractive, but it is very eco-friendly. And most of the year, you don't even have to turn off the boiler or use gas or electricity or anything. It's just the sun heats it up, which is pretty awesome, in my opinion. לא לזהם את האוויר. Do not pollute the air. לא לזהם את האוויר. Do not pollute the air. בבקשה לא לזהם את האוויר. Please do not pollute the air. So I guess the old type of deodorants that used to hurt the ozone are kind of gone. I don't think anybody produces them anymore. But there are a lot of ways to avoid from polluting the air, and that's using cars the least amount possible. And if you can cycle or walk or use the train, that's better. And if you have to use a car, then commute. I know some places, and sometimes in Tel Aviv, you don't really have a choice, but if you can co-share, if you can share rides and commute with each other, it's more fun and it saves a lot of energy and pollution. לצמצם כריתת עצים. Reduce deforestation. לצמצם כריתת עצים. Reduce deforestation. הכרחי לצמצם כריתת עצים. Reducing deforestation is imperative. Actually, I think when Israel was just, coming to be as a country and as a nation, one of the most important jobs that people had to do is actually making forests, because naturally in Israel the climate doesn't allow for forests to be, but people kind of just created them, and now you can sort of walk around Israel and see a lot of man-made forests, and they're not cut down, they're not for trees, for like making paper or stuff like that. It's just, for nature. לחסוך בחשמל. Save electricity. לחסוך בחשמל. Save electricity. אפשר לחסוך בחשמל בבית. It's possible to save electricity at home. I'm like one of those crazy people who just like walk around the house and turn off the lights. My boyfriend would like get mad at me. It's like, I need some light to see. And I was like, you have some. Yeah, I think saving electricity is very important, and it's very easy to do. You just kind of have to keep it in mind to just, turn off the light after you leave a room. לצרוך פחות דלק. Consume less fuel. לצרוך פחות דלק. Consume less fuel. אנחנו צריכים לצרוך פחות דלק. We should consume less fuel. So, of course, sometimes it's not possible not to use your car, or, you don't really have an alternative necessarily, but I think, again, if you commute and you share rides, that's really important. I just hope that sometime in the near future we'll find an alternative to fossil fuel, so it will kind of save the planet and maybe even save the economy. להשתמש בסוללות נטענות. Use rechargeable batteries. להשתמש בסוללות נטענות. Use rechargeable batteries. רצוי להשתמש בסוללות נטענות. It is advisable to use rechargeable batteries. I think the age of the battery is kind of going away, but if you do use them, and if there's some sort of a device that you need to use your batteries for often, then, use rechargeables. It's way better. They last longer too, I think. Okay, so thank you for watching today. We talked about 10 ways to save the planet in Hebrew. Don't forget to subscribe, smash that subscribe button, and please tell me in the comments below if you have any tips on eco-friendly tips and ways to save energy. Please let me know. I always like to hear those stuff. And don't forget to log in to HebrewPod101.com for more content and more Hebrew. And I'll see you all next time. להתראות.